Welcome back, Super Slot 75 movie reviews with a twist. Today we're going to talk about The Equalizer II, starring the venerable Denzel Washington. I would suggest you watch the first one for to get more of his backstory. And this one, they pretty much go in a little bit more depth as far as McCall, uh, military, his wife. He's still dealing with issues with his wife's passing. He still does the hero for hire thing. There's a couple backstories you need to pay attention to. The first one is with the old Jewish guy who's looking for a painting to find his long lost sister. The second backstory is the young male, his name is Miles, who has no father figure, struggling between trying to do the right thing and the street life. Okay, so let's get to the crux of the matter. His good friend, Susan, is killed. But more importantly, before then, one of their secretary or Department of State reps that was under deep cover was murdered. Him and his wife, and then they send Susan in, and with one of her underlings, which would be Peter, which was of McCall's former partner from 7 years prior. Of course, Peter doesn't know or didn't know that McCall death was faked. So they're investigating a crime scene, Susan and Peter, in Brussels, Belgium. They can't put two and two together because it looks like a murder-suicide, but of course they know that's not the case. They just don't have the evidence to prove it. So then two tweakers subsequently beat up and rob Susan in her room. And it is implied that they're the ones that murdered her. Of course, McCall gets the phone call saying she's been murdered. Uh, he places some clues together. He realizes they didn't murder her. That was a professional hit. The stab wound location of Susan indicates somebody was taught a particular stabbing method underneath the sternum, next to the rib cage. Okay, so then comes to find out, McCall reveals himself to his former partner Peter. Peter is in shock. He's like, "Man, I thought you were dead. I never had a chance to say I'm sorry for you losing your wife." So then McCall starts working with Peter. He grabs Susan's micro SD card and starts going through her evidence and starts piecing the clues together, and convincing Peter that Susan's was not murdered by some tweakers. So then, come to find out, McCall actually discovers Peter is in cahoots with Susan's murder. Come to find out, Peter is a private contractor that just happens to also work for the State Department, and McCall's former team are the ones that basically takes out hits on former members of Congress, State Departments, whoever. They're contract killers at the end of the day. Of course, McCall takes it personal. A cat and mouse ensues throughout the movie. The movie is a slow burn, and I say slow burn in a good way because you'll have one action piece, and then coupled with some more drama, and then another action piece with some more drama and mixed in between. So get towards the end of the movie, the third act, the hit squad with Peter, they all converge to McCall's home up in Massachusetts during a hurricane. Who tries to murder somebody during a hurricane? Only elite special ops contract killers would do that, I guess. So, of course, McCall kills everybody in just brutal fashion, just like he did in the first movie. But there's a couple themes in this movie that I personally liked, and that's why I love with Denzel. He always preaches manhood, fatherhood. There's one scene where Miles is with a local gang, and they want him to be initiated by killing the person who killed his brother. Of course, Denzel busts in the room with guns drawn and gets Miles out of there and gives Miles a very compelling speech as to what a man is and choices that he has. There's no excuses for white supremacy, your condition, your living conditions, your mental. No excuses, and I love that part of the message in the movie, especially coming from an older black man to a younger black male, which is sorely needed in today's major movies when it comes to our dynamics that are told between older man to young man. We don't see that much for us in our communities in these movies on a major platform. I appreciated that. And then also the Jewish guy, McCall, tracked down his long lost sister, so they're reunited at the very end. So that was cute. Other than that, it's pretty basic, but I mean it's enjoyable. I mean I enjoyed it. I liked it. I like seeing Denzel kick butt, but like I said, brutal fashion. I mean not these guys don't put up much of a. No one puts up a fight. I mean he's like Denzel in the Equalizer movie is pretty much like Seagal in the '90s. Seagal may get punched once every every five guys. He may take a lick or two. This is pretty much Seagal of the '90s with Denzel playing McCall in the Equalizer. So I liked it. It was a great film. Like I said, it is a slow burn. You have to be patient with this movie, but it does reward you at the very end. So at the very end, McCall does make peace with his wife's passing, puts his wedding ring back on, moves back home to his old home, fixes it up, and subsequently leads a life of peace and tranquility for now. I'm sure they'll make another Equalizer because I'm sure this movie's going to do pretty decent numbers like the first one, and it'll warrant a third movie. So that is my review of the Equalizer 2. Once again, Super Slot 75. Movie reviews with a twist. Y'all have a good one. Peace.